What is going on, guys? It's your boys Collins, and we're back again with another tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to create this. I want to show you guys how to create some realistic advanced teleportation visual effects right from home using Adobe After Effects. Now, before we continue, I wanted to show you guys something that I've honestly been working on. I'm actually working with CapCut on this specific video, but let me show you guys what I'm working on. Nice, ain't it? You want to take a look again? Check it out. Nice. So there's a lot going on right here. There's a lot happening. So before I break down this shot, right? I mean, if I pull up my my comp, this is what we're working with. We got the sound effects right here at the bottom. Now, of course, if I put together all the sound effects, everything else should sound really good. But take a look. Right? You get a little bit of that extra static electricity, lightning type of sound effect. Then, of course, you got the ground crack. You know what I'm saying? You got all this extra stuff happening, right? At the bottom. So if I come back over here, and if I were to increase my screen, we got some camera shake. You know, I think the only thing that I forgot to add is some chromatic aberration, right? But we got some camera shake. The moment I step on the ground cracks. We got some nice dust disbursement going on, some dust floating in the atmosphere. We got some distortion, some sparks, and some lightning on the ground, and all this cool other stuff that makes this effect look really cool. But the idea is the moment I step on the ground, that's when all this dust starts to disperse, if that makes sense. So that's the whole goal behind what we're getting ready to do today. And so today I really want to show you guys how to recreate some nice, advanced, realistic Adobe After Effects animations right from home. Now, of course, guys, as you guys already know, this is an advanced tutorial, so there's nothing that I'm providing that is completely free. The only thing that I'm providing that is absolutely free is the tutorial folder. So in the tutorial folder is the footage, right? The video itself. And then, of course, I got some sound effects in here that can honestly help us to make this sound more realistic. Okay? Like literally, even the plugins we're going to be using, you're going to have to pay for it. If you're not paying for it, you can go ahead and do the free trial. If you're not doing the free trial, you're going to have to pay for it. So one way or the other, something has to happen. All right? So for today's tutorial, we're going to be working with this footage. So of course, like I always show you in every single one of my tutorials, drag this footage, bring it down into a new composition to create a new composition. Now, I did film this video in 4K, so, you know, the pixels are pretty high. And of course, this was also shot with 24 frames per second. So, by the way, this is my car right here. Thank you so much. I finally got a Tesla. And by the way, if you don't have a Tesla, I'm telling you, man, I think you should get yourself a Tesla. Tesla is a really nice car. So, you know, I got this Tesla, got it tinted, you know, really, really nice. So I thank God for that. All right. So this is me running into the shot, right? And of course, I'm running into the shot. I look really terrible. But the whole idea is if you want to learn how to film this shot, all I want you to do, again, is the same thing. Set your camera on a tripod or make sure the camera is positioned. The camera needs to be stationed. All right. Then what I want you to do is go ahead and run into the scene and pretend to do your little Superman or super teleporting, jumping, whatever you want to do that makes you look cool. Then, of course, pretend as if you're teleporting out of the scene. Now, of course, this is a different kind of teleportation that is not like the other ones that I've made. All right. So this is more advanced. So with that being said, this is exactly how I want you to film this shot. And of course, remember to leave an empty background just a little bit, like something like this where nobody is in the shot. So this is pretty much what we're going to be working with. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's start. So like always, what I want you to do is go ahead and you see this area where I'm not completely in frame. What I want you to do is go ahead and hit Control-Shift-D on your keyboard. If you're using a Mac, Command-Shift-D. Then what I want you to do is this whole entire background right here, because the leaves are moving, I'm not going to be focused too much on the leaves in this specific shot. I'm only going to be focusing on the effect. So I highly suggest if you're filming this, make sure you film this in a background where nothing is moving. It's going to make life easier for you. But if you're filming this in an area where things are moving, you're going to have a hard time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here at the very beginning, right click it, go to time, freeze frame, and then I'm going to freeze this layer. I'm going to press enter and I'm going to type in BG for background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color as always to brown. And of course I'm going to turn off the sound and I'm just going to drag this to the end. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I like doing that. And then of course I always like to hit Control or Command S to save the project, save your project and save it as teleporting or advanced teleport, whatever you want to save it as, just save it as something like that. All right. And then of course what's going to happen next is pretty much we're going to go ahead and move this time indicator to the part where I am in midair right here. Boom. So it seems like I'm doing a little dance right here. Yeah, dance, dance, I'll make you dance. Yeah, dance. So pretty much we're going to stop somewhere around here. Around here, we're going to click on this specific layer, hit Control Shift D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer and then press del or delete. Delete it. Drag this footage all the way over here. So drag it, like honestly, like drag it. So it's going to be like something like this. So we have a little bit of some extra few spaces and then I teleport into the scene. Now that extra sound that you're hearing from me, what I want you to do is just go ahead and just, for now, press L on the keyboard and then just reduce the volume all the way down to -11. It's just unnecessary sound effects that I was making with my mouth, just to help me out. I mean, I'm not getting old. I hope I'm not getting old. But pretty much this is the idea. All right? I appear out of nowhere and then I land on the ground. Nice. And then it's the part where I teleport out. So the moment I jump, like right here, where this last... So what we can do is right here at this ending part where I kind of like, bend down a little bit to jump right here. What I want you to do is go ahead somewhere around here, hit Control Shift D and come all the way over here where I lift both my legs up like this and hit Control Shift D and then delete this end piece and then come all the way over here, right click this, go to time stretch, and then go ahead and change the stretch factor to 50. So we're going to speed that up a little bit. So it's going to be something like this. I just wanted to speed it up a little bit because it was just too slow. And then of course, turn off the sound for that one. Hit Control S to save. Now, you don't necessarily need all the sound effects in the background, right? Now, of course, you can always find some ambient sound effects for your videos. So if you go to pixabay.com, you can find some nice background sound effects. So what you can always do is you can turn off all the sounds from this video and just drop some sound effects for yourself. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to leave my sound effect on. Hit Control S to save. So now we have a starting point and we have an ending point. Excellent. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to come right here at the very beginning, right? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and you see this first frame. We're going to move this time indicator one frame to the right. Hit Control Shift D or Command Shift D to split the layer. Now, once you've done that, what I want you to do is come back to this specific layer right here. Click on this, right click, go ahead and go to time and then click on freeze frame. Please freeze the frame. Now, another thing I forgot to mention is make sure you're filming this in a wonderful, clear background. Because when you're cutting yourself out, you want to see yourself, right? That's the idea. Hit Control S to save. Now, here's what I want you to do. What I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and let's do this. I'm going to change the quality from quarter to full. And what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and start zooming in. Hold space on my keyboard. Oops. Hold space, click and hold space and drag myself all the way down. And what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and click on this pen tool right here. Make sure this footage layer is selected, the one that you just froze. Right click it. Of course, you can always rename this to frozen. So we can do FRZ and then we can probably change the color to yellow, right? What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and zoom in, hold space again, click and drag, and then begin to draw this solid mask around me. All right. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure you cut me out. You know, you don't want to cut me out and add the tree too. You don't want that. We don't want that. Control Z. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come all the way down here, right here, mask out the foot, right here, like this, like this, like this, like that. Yeah, the booty area is crazy. So, you know, don't be doing anything funny. Yeah, just mask me out, and what's going to happen is you're just going to close it right here. Perfect, 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 perfect. Once you've done that, hit Control S to save. And of course, like always, what I like to always do is I'm going to hit the pan or the anchor point tool, right? So when you click on the anchor point tool up here, what I want you to do is go ahead and click on this footage layer, frozen layer down here one more time. And then you see this anchor point tool. What you're going to do is you're going to move this anchor point tool somewhere around here. And then hit Control S to save. Perfect. Now we're going to zoom in down here on this timeline. We're going to bring this about 3 frames to the left. And then 2 frames to the left, actually. And then come to the very end right here. Press S on the keyboard. Set a keyframe on scale. And then once you've set a keyframe on scale, come all the way over here to the very beginning. And then just crank this all the way down to maybe like 10. Usually I say 0, but 10 is good. And then what I want you to do is I want you to enable motion blur. If you can't see the motion blur tab, click on toggle switches and mode, and you should be able to see it. Enable motion blur. Once you've done that, press play. So we have this random guy appearing out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden he's landing on the ground. But you see how smooth it is, right? So what you can even do is you can even do something like this. Press R on the keyboard, set a keyframe on rotation right around here, come all the way over here and maybe rotate this negative 36 degrees to the left. I mean, you can't really see the change, but imagine if you were to stretch this out just a tad, like maybe 2 frames to the left, move this rotation keyframe backwards, and then press S on the keyboard, move this scale down here like this. There we go. So it has much more of a smoother rotation. Perfect. We can even do, you can leave it like that if you want to. You can do that. Hit Control S to save. It's perfect. Now that we have done the easiest part, right? Let's move on into more of the complicated parts. It's really not complicated. It's just that's just how edits are, man. You know, the things that are easy are usually the things that are light work. The things that are complicated, it's just your computer gives you a hard time. So what I want you to do is hit Control Alt Y or Command Option Y on your keyboard if you're using a Mac. And what I want you to do is I want you to move this time indicator right around here, hit Control Shift D. And like I said, guys, this is an advanced tutorial, so you need to make sure you have these plugins. And you know exactly which plugin I'm about to use. We're about to use the Chromatic Displacement from Red Giant. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this Chromatic Displacement plugin, and I'm going to drag it into this specific layer. Then I'm going to change this layer by pressing Enter, and I'm going to rename this to CD for Chromatic Displacement. Hit Control S to save. And what I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and click on this specific layer. Come up here and change this to number 4 for frozen. Change the source to masks and effects. And what I want you to do is we're going to do something really cool. We're going to change the displacement amount to something like a solid 85. And maybe soften the displacement to something like 10. And what I want you to do is I want you to move this time indicator to right around here at the very end right here. And what I want you to do is set a keyframe on displacement amount and soften displacement and come all the way to the very beginning and maybe crank all this down to 0, right? Crank both of them to 0. And if I were to change my quality to quarter and zoom in just a tad and come all the way over here and press N on the keyboard, and then I press play. So we get this look that appears out of nowhere, and then the moment he enters into him, it disappears. So that's usually the glass effect that I always like to create at the beginning of all of my sick, dope, teleporting animations. It's just cool, especially when you create something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on the CD, right? Press U on the keyboard, select these 2 keyframes, and move these 2 keyframes a little bit to the right. Crop this out a bit so that we have this appearing. Hold on. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. There we go. So we're going to come back to this specific tab right here. And we're probably going to decrease this a little bit to the displacement amount to like 24. And then maybe decrease this to like a solid 5. Let's do like a 5. And come over here to this frozen layer, press F on the keyboard, and maybe crank this feather up to like 5 as well too, so that the edges is not too hard. Perfect. And set a lock on this mask right here. Now, let's try this again. Nice. So what we want to do is we want this thing to be kind of faint. Something that's not too visible, but it's visible enough for you to see it. Perfect. Now, hit Control S to save. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and add some optical flashes, right? So this time around, here's what I want you to do. Click on CD, hit Control D to duplicate it. Press Enter to rename this, and rename this to flashes. I like to rename all my stuff because the more organized you are, the easier your edits become. So rename that to flashes, click on that, and click on this chromatic displacement layer inside of flashes, and then delete that effect from the flashes layer. Come back into your effects and presets and type in optical. I'm sorry, guys. Type in optical flare. If you do not have any of these plugins, I promise you it's going to be extremely difficult for you to achieve this. You know, guys, I like to do high quality stuff. I don't want to teach you guys how to do bootleg stuff. I like to teach you guys how to do the best stuff. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and change the render mode over here to over original, right? And let's come into the options tab, and yeah, come all the way down here, delete glint, delete the multi iris, delete everything else, and just leave the glow and press OK. Now together we're going to pick the best color that suits our scene. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my quality all the way down to 3rd because my computer is starting to act up. So what I'm going to do is, you see, we're going to pick a good color. Now, if you guys watched in this specific video right here, I picked a specific color for my flash, and that is this color. So if you can copy this color, D4CA88, that would be the color we will be using in this specific scene right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the color section and then just paste it in here, press OK. And then we got the same exact color. Now, assuming you don't have money to purchase the optical flare plugin, of course you can find a bunch of PNG flares on Google. Find the PNG flares, import it into Adobe After Effects, and all you're going to have to do is do some positioning animation. So you set a keyframe on the position, and you will just animate it the same way as we would animate this specific flare right here. And then of course you can go ahead and click on tint, and then you basically search up the tint plugin over here, drag that tint plugin into that specific layer, and then make sure you change the color to this, and you can have the same exact effect. But this plugin makes it absolutely easy. So with that being said, right, with the flashes, right, let's do some animation with the flashes. So we're going to set a keyframe on both the brightness and the position. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the right. We're going to move this right here. And we're going to increase the brightness just a tad. We're going to move again to the right. Repeat the same process. Move this all the way somewhere down here. Move to the right again. Move this up here. Feel free to increase the brightness even brighter. Move this again. Move this over here. Decrease this to like something like 160. Move it right here. Or actually, matter of fact, do this. Stretch this out about a couple of frames more. And this time around, move this right here, move this up here, move this down here, move this over here, move this over here, and then that should be it. So now, all I want you to do is, you can just increase the brightness just a tad, come over here, and then decrease the brightness just a tad. So it should look something like this. But to make it even cooler, here's what you're going to do. You're going to come all the way over here for the first 3 seconds, hit Control-Shift-D to split it, and then move that a few frames forward. So it should look something like this. So the only problem is the brightness is a bit too much, right? So what you can do over here is, we can change the position just a tad. So press U on the keyboard. You see this, select all these other position keyframes, so just delete them and come to this specific keyframe right here, and then maybe change this keyframe somewhere around here. And what you can even do is for the brightness, turn off the keyframe off of that, and just reposition this where it's supposed to go so that it follows your subject and it's not too far away. The objective is, the reason why he is teleporting is as a result of the flashes of the light. So the flashes of the light is supposed to cover all that extra stuff. So it should be something like this. Nice. So you get that extra flashes of light right around him. You see that's how I do my effects, guys. You know, like that's how I do my special effects. I like to be extra with what I do. Hit Control-S to save. Now we're getting somewhere. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and let's bring in some sound effects. All right, let's bring in some sound effects. Bring in the bass teleport sound effect and place it down here, and double click L to make sure that you can see the sound waves. And then do me a favor and move this right over here so that it starts exactly when our effect starts. So it should be something like this. The only problem is you hear that extra ground sound. That is because the subject has already touched the ground. So what we're gonna do is, actually the sound effects are pretty good. Perfect. Hit Control-S to save. Let's do this. You see this lightning sound? We're only going to be using the beginning. Just right around here, click on this specific set out point to current frame. Click on that, and then just drag this sound effect in here. Now, of course, I have already color coded my sound effects. That's the reason why it's a peach color. So feel free to do the same thing to yours. I mean, you can do that if you don't want to do that. That's your own problem. Press L on the keyboard and do me a favor and reduce the sound effects to maybe like -3. Let's have a play. So what we want is, we want the lightning to start. Hit Control-Shift-D, and then it starts again right here. And then it ends something like this. Perfect. Hit Control-S to save. I'm telling you, man, we're getting somewhere. Drag these two sound effects and place it below the background sound. Yeah, whatever. So now, what I want you to do is click on this rock crash sound effect. Matter of fact, before we even bring that in, let's just make sure we have all the elements in place. So now that we have all of this, perfect. Let's do this. Let's come all the way over here at the very end, and let's repeat the same process. So let's bring the same sound effect, the bass lightning sound effect, right? Hit Control-D to duplicate it. And I'm about to show you guys a technique. Double click L. This is pretty much how I get my sound effects, right? Right click it, time, reverse layer. So reverse that layer. So now we're going to have a different sound effect. Now check this out. So what you can do is, you can go ahead and hit Control-Shift-D, this area, delete this part. So what you can do is double click L, move that down here. You can always right click it. Matter of fact, don't reverse it. Reversing it makes it sound a little weird. Let's try reversing it back to normal and just positioning it down here, something like this. And this time around, right click it, go to time stretch, and maybe change the stretch factor to 110. Let's try that. Let's see what sound it will give us. So right here, hit Control-Shift-D, and then come all the way over here and stretch this out a bit. Double click L in this one. And maybe offset this a bit to something like this. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. But let's delete that part. Bring the rock crash sound effect, right? Bring it in here, because I didn't give you guys the opportunity to play around with the different layers of sound, because I pretty much put all this together. Let's do this. Move this rock sound somewhere around here, and let's see how it sounds. Let's do this. Bring it all the way over here. And matter of fact, let's do this. Let's have it start. Press L on the keyboard, set a keyframe on the audio levels. Move this audio levels all the way down here, and maybe decrease this a bit. Somewhere, move it like this. We can work with that for now. For now, we'll just work with that. Hit Control S to save. Let's do some edits right here at this part right here. So this area, we're going to go ahead and move this keyframe right around here at the very end. Hit Control-Shift-D to split the layer, right click it, go to time, freeze frame, change the frozen frame to yellow. And then of course, stretch this out about 3 frames to the right. Make sure you change the quality to full. Hit Control S to save, or Command S to save. Zoom in, hold space, click on the pen tool, and do the same process by drawing a pen tool around the subject, which is me. I don't know why sometimes when I do these effects and I'm actually filming this outside, I feel like I'm actually a superhero. Like sometimes I really, really think I'm a superhero, because just look at the way I'm standing. Like I'm putting all my energy and my soul into this. I've been doing this for years, and I'm getting old. And guess what, guys? I'm about to be doing some of the best visual effects that you haven't seen yet. Trust me. Oops, hold on, I made a mistake. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and click on the selection tool. Zoom out, hit Control S to save, press F on the keyboard. Let's feather this out to maybe like 4 pixels. There we go. Same process. Click on the anchor point tool and maybe drag this somewhere around here because of the direction of which I'm jumping. So we're going to do some animations over there. So press P on the keyboard, set a keyframe on position. Press R on the keyboard, set a keyframe on rotation. Actually, don't even press P on the keyboard. Don't set no keyframe on a position. Press S on the keyboard, set a keyframe on scale. And what I want you to do is move 1, 2, 3 frames. Reduce this all the way down to 0. All right, enable motion blur. Press R on the keyboard and rotate this to like 33. Press play. There we go. And maybe move these 2 sound effects a few frames to the right so it doesn't sound too rapid. There we go. Move it a few frames to the right. Perfect. It looks nice. That's exactly what we're looking for. Awesome, 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 awesome. Now, here's what we're going to do next. Given the fact that we have already added those elements, let's try adding some more elements to make this look amazing. So now that we have already added the chromatic displacement and all that kind of stuff and the flashes, let's add some. Matter of fact, the flashes, right? Hit Control D to duplicate the flashes, right? And move the flashes all the way over here at the very end when he's getting ready to teleport again. And so the idea is we want the same flashes that appeared when he teleported. We want the same 2 flashes to appear when he's about to teleport out. So it should look something like this. So he starts off. So what you can do is come over here, come to the effects and controls, and then just change the positioning. Move to the next frame, change the positioning, move to the next frame, change the positioning, move to the next frame. Well, it kind of shuts out. So something like this, and then come out over here, hit Control, matter of fact, no, hit Control D to duplicate this layer, the flash, move this over here, and let's try something else. So this time around, we want the flash to start somewhere here, move to the next frame, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Boom. So it should be like, he appears with light, he disappears with light. And of course, you can come out over here, press N on the keyboard, come over here, right click the space, trim comp to work area, so that you're only working with this specific area. Hit Control S to save. Excellent. Now, let's do some real stuff. Now, our subject lands on the ground for a few seconds, and then we want him to disappear again. So pretty much, right, from Action VFX, they have this ground crack effect that I got a while back. And pretty much it's a ground crack. I actually got their whole ground crack pack. And pretty much they have a bunch of different types of ground crack assets. I really highly recommend checking out some of these ground crack assets. There's a lot of them you can really pick from. But pretty much I'm going to use maybe the ground crack 2A, 2K, this specific one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it into my composition. I'm going to change the color to cyan. This is going to be my ground crack effect. Now, the thing about this Action VFX's ground crack elements is that when it comes to their ground crack elements, right, the good thing about their ground crack elements is that it already comes, rendered out in RGB plus alpha. So what that means is it's rendered out with no black background, right? Your objective is to make sure that it matches the ground itself. And then you're going to do some, whatever you got to do to just make sure this thing looks good. So pretty much what's going to happen is my subject lands on the ground right around here. So when he touches the ground right there is when the ground is supposed to start spreading. So what I want to do is, I want to do this. I'm going to crop the beginning. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and right click this effect, stretch this to maybe about 75 so that it can speed up a bit. So the moment he lands on the ground cracks. So that it can match the sound effects at the same time. Hit Control S to save. Now, there are many ways to blend this with the ground, but the way that I've come to find out that's way easier for me instead of having to go through all that extra route is that I type in linear color key, right? So type in linear color key, drag that into the ground layer, click on this key color thingy, and then click on this gray area. That completely removes the gray from the background itself. And then, of course, if you don't want to lose too much detail, what you also want to do is you want to go ahead and type in the tint effect. Grab the tint effect, drag that in there. Is the tint effect the right effect? I take that back. Don't do the tint effect. Grab the hue / the saturation effect, drag that in here. Click on colorize and decrease the saturation all the way down to 0 and maybe decrease the lightness a bit. This is going to allow us to still retain some detail. Now, the objective is to make this as dark as we can, but remember, it needs to match the dark areas of the ground as well too. So we don't want it to be too dark to the point where it looks fake, but we want it to be dark enough so that it can blend in with the background. So maybe leaving it at this level seems pretty good to me. Hit Control S to save. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to reposition this effect right here. Now, the trick is he lands on the ground. The ground cracks. Now, the objective is, the good thing is when I did the whole teleportation, I stood still in one place. So my legs were completely still and I didn't move it too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do some effects. I'm going to do some masking. So first, let's drag this down here, somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is pretty good for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the pen tool. I'm going to come all the way to the beginning. Matter of fact, come all the way over here when two legs are touching the ground. And what I want to do is I'm going to draw a rough mask around my leg. Something like this. Boom. Hit the selection tool. Come over here. Press M. Click on the mask itself and hit subtract. Boom. And hit F on the keyboard. Let's feather this out just a tad. Maybe like feather it out. 38 is good. Double click M or triple click M on the keyboard to reveal the mask expansion. And just reduce the mask expansion just a tad. So this will allow us to be able to see what we're working with. Now, of course, you can always rotoscope this, but who has time for all that? So since this area is kind of fading out, right? What we're going to do is we're going to just adjust the mask just a tad. Now, the objective is we want to cover this whole entire area with dust. And that's what we want. So give me a few minutes. I'll be back. This time around, since we have already added this soft mask type of thing right here, you see, the thing is, I'm not trying to be too detailed, right? But I want to be detailed enough to the point where people don't actually notice the mistakes in the video. And so because we're going to do that, right, what we're going to do is like this. We're going to go ahead and stretch out this mask just a tad. All right, so what I want you to do is just, stretch out the mask just a little bit. Something like this. Press play again. So we want the ground to crack a little bit, right? But in the same way, we also want our feet to show. So I don't want the mask. I don't want people to see the crack on our body. We don't want that. And then what I want you to do is just come all the way down here to the very end, right? And then just hit Control-Shift-D to split the layer. Right click this, go to time, freeze frame. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and stretch this out a bit. So what you can do is select these two layers and place it at the bottom like this. And then stretch this out like this. Stretch it out all the way to the very end because the crack needs to stay in motion while our subject is no longer there. So this area where our subject begins to move his feet, we're going to do something to the mask. What I want you to do is I want you to click on this specific layer, the frozen layer, press M on the keyboard, and just set a keyframe on mask path. And I want you to move it to the right. And what I want you to do is, as his leg is no longer in frame, the mask starts to lift up a bit. Right? We want that. And then move to the next frame where he's lifting up this leg, and we're going to repeat the same process. So just move the mask up a little bit. There we go. Because what's happening is we want them to see the ground itself now. So it should be something like this. You see that? So if you were to press play, you see what I'm saying? So maybe like right around here, what you can do is you can move this mask down here and then maybe like move this up just a tad so that it follows his feet, something like this. Perfect. Fantastic. Hit Control S to save. Now we're getting somewhere. So here's what I want you to do. Let's go ahead and let's bring this back to full screen. So we've added some soft ground crack. Now I know it doesn't look as detailed as it's supposed to be. So what you can do is this. You can click on the layer, come all the way to the effects and controls, come under the hue/saturation, and maybe let's bring the saturation up to like 13. And what you can do is click on this second layer right here and change this number down here to 13 as well too. And then just close it. Now once you've done that, right, what you can do next is
let's add some dust. Hit Control S to save. So usually, right, when I do my teleport in effect, I like to add some dust to my subject because it just makes it look cool. So for me, I've already imported some of these dust elements from, again, Action VFX. So Action VFX, I always use this what's it called? Smoke effect, which is called the gun smoke. If you guys have checked out my previous tutorial, I showed you exactly where to get the this gun smoke effect. So this is pretty much the gun smoke effect, and I'm gonna drag maybe gun smoke. This is gun smoke 3. Let me drag gun smoke number 2, and this is pretty much how gun smoke number 2 looks like. But here's the objective: we want gun smoke number 2 to match the color of our subject. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna change the color of the gun smoke itself, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna change the color to also cyan. And then what I'm also gonna do is under CD, I'm gonna turn it off, and I think I'm just gonna change the quality to maybe like half, so that the computer doesn't glitch. I'm gonna hit Control S to save, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reposition this like this, and then I'm going to take the dust itself, and I'm going to have the dust start at a starting point. So in this scenario, the dust starts from this angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and solo this dust so you can see it by itself, and you can see exactly where the dust starts from. So click the pan or the anchor point tool and drag that over here to this area where the dust starts. And pretty much we're going to do some animations and rotations from that angle. So I'm going to unsolo it, move this time indicator about a few frames like this. Let's see. You know, the dust coming in front of him is actually not even a bad idea. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press R on the keyboard to bring up rotation. Rotate this maybe to 16. Move it down, something like this. Hit Control S to save. See, that looks really good. It looks as if he's coming through the air and then he's moving through the dust. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks really nice. That's the reason why I love Action VFX's dust elements, because it's just nice. Right? So now here's what's happening next. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and search up tint. Of course, you guys know I love to use tint because why not? Drag tint and bring it into the gun smoke, and of course change the color to the color of my outfit. So we get this nice color where it's blending in with the color of my outfit. So it's something like this. Now, since it's black smoke, you can't really see it well, but that's the whole point, right? We want to have a mixture of different kinds of smoke elements coming from our guy. Hit Control S, press S, and then increase the scale just a bit. And then right click it, go to time stretch, and probably change the stretch factor to 200. Because remember, one thing I want you guys to understand is that the Action VFX elements are, you know, all created in 60 frames per second, meaning that you can slow it down. Something like this. Now we're really getting somewhere. Hit Control S to save. And now here's what I want you to do now. What I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and click on the same gun smoke, hit Control D to duplicate it. This time around, we're going to come into the effects controls, delete the tint, leave it as white. Matter of fact, hit Control Z or Command Z to bring back the tint. And let's change the color this time to the color of our light. And then maybe select this one so that both of the colors are the same. Now, if you want to see exactly which color I'm using right here, F5, F1, CB. That's the color I'm using. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and press R. This time around, we're going to rotate this just a tad. We're going to press S on the keyboard. We're going to reduce the scale. We're going to go ahead and right-click this again. We're going to go to time stretch, and we're going to change the stretch factor to 100. And this time around, we're going to offset this somewhere up here. So it's going to be something like this. But instead of it facing towards up, we're going to press R. We're going to rotate it so that it faces towards down. Something like this. Perfect. Hit Control S to save. Now, what you can even do is you can do this. You can click on the same dust layer, hit Control D to duplicate. Now, like I said, I imported a lot of Action VFX's dust elements. So I'm going to bring in Smoke 3. Make sure that this layer, the third dust layer that you duplicated is selected. Hold Alt or Option on your keyboard, drag the gun smoke, and bring this in here. Boom. Paste it on top and offset this one down here. Press R on the keyboard to reveal the rotational properties and move this somewhere down here. Press S on the keyboard to save, Control S or Command S to save. Let's have a look. So we want this dust to appear seconds later. Somewhere like here. But we don't want it to appear all the way down here so that it looks like it's coming from nowhere. Have it appear right here. And what you can even do is click on the pen tool and then draw a rough mask around this area. Close it. Press F. Feather this out just a tad. Triple click M on your keyboard to reveal the mask expansion. And then decrease it just a tad. And then just click on the selection tool and come back and click here. Press play. Matter of fact, let's have that dust be the dust that appears when he steps on the ground right here. So what you can do is you can click on this dust right here, press R on the keyboard, rotate this 90 degrees, have it positioned right here. And you can have it start somewhere around here when he steps on the ground. So it should be like that. You see how it's starting to look, it's starting to come together? That's what we want. Hit Control S to save. Here's what I want you to do next. See, when he touches the ground the first time, you can hit the same dust, hit Control D to duplicate it, and offset this one a few frames to the right, reposition it like this, press R on the keyboard, rotate this just a tad like this, and then what you can even do is press right click, go to time stretch, change the stretch factor also back to 200. And when you come back to the tint, what you can do is click on the gun smoke, this first one right here with the black tint, click on this tint, hit Control C or Command C to copy, and then come back to this one and hit Command V to paste. So the dust that he's stepping on the ground has the same color as his clothes. So if you press play, so we get this, when he steps on the ground, dust shoots up, dust shoots up. That's what we want. Hit Control S to save. Awesome. Now we're starting to look really good. This is starting to come together. This is starting to look really good. It's starting to look amazing. And that's what we want. Now, of course, feel free to duplicate the dust layers as much as you want to get the feel of what it is that you're looking for, right? So don't just sit here and wait for me. Feel free to duplicate this as many times as you want. Now, here's what I want you to do next. With that being said, let's add some, heat distortion. So I'm going to turn back my chromatic displacement layer back on. I'm going to click on the chromatic displacement, hit Control D to duplicate it, and I'm going to drag this one at the top. We're going to rename this, so right click, rename, and rename this to heat D. There we go. Now delete the chromatic displacement inside of that layer, come to the effects and presets tab and search up heat distortion. Now guys, again, if you don't have the heat distortion plugin, feel free to go ahead and use turbulent displace for the same effect. The turbulent displace plugin can also create the same distortion effect, but you're just gonna have to tweak it a little bit. So, I mean, it doesn't cost that much. It costs only like $24 to buy the heat distortion plugin. I highly recommend purchasing it. You know what I'm saying? If you want the best results. So now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and click on the pen tool on this heat distortion layer and then draw sort of like a rough mask around our subject, something like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and press F on the keyboard and feather this out just a tad. And with that being said, if you press play, we get a little bit of some distortion, but the distortion lasts for only a few seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this out just a tad so that the distortion lasts longer. Hit Control S to save. If you press play, now we're going to do some animations, of course, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and press T on the keyboard right around here to reveal the opacity properties. Set a keyframe on opacity, move all the way to the very end, and then crank this all the way down to 0. Hit Control S to save. Now come back to the very beginning. So it's like this. Now what you can even do is press, come over here at the very beginning. And what I want you to do is come over here, set a keyframe, and then move this all the way down to the back, reduce this to 0. So if we press play, see that? Now, feel free to play around with the distortion settings, right? Like you can always decrease the heat amount from 50 to maybe like 25. And maybe if you want the distortion to appear more, you can increase this to also 17. And let's have a look. See that? If the distortion is a bit too much, feel free to just leave it at 10. For me, I'm just going to play around with it to get the look that I'm looking for. Perfect. Hit Control S to save, and that's what we want, right? Now that we have added the heat distortion off, feel free to play around with it to have the look that you're looking for. The next thing we're going to add is the ground cracking sound effect, that extra ground cracking sound effect the moment he steps on the ground. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back over here. Oops. Come back into this area. Scroll all the way down. Let's come back to the ground crack sound effect that I placed in here, the rock crash sound effect. Place that in here. Double click L and then just offset this all the way over here, somewhere around here. Hit Control Shift D, delete this part, and maybe probably like lower the volume just by a tad by pressing L and reducing the volume properties. Press play. So let's do this. The moment he steps on the ground right here is where we want the sound to start. It's not bad, but I think it's too loud. So press L again, reduce the volume just a tad. More like it. Nice. So you see that? Now here's what we're going to do next. We are going to add some extra dust. So I actually got this from Big Films. Now, by the way, Big Films has done this new thing where I think you can go on their website and you can get a lot of these visual effects assets for your projects, and it's really nice. So I managed to get this. It's called air manipulation. It's an air manipulation where they have a bunch of dust assets, and I mean, dust assets that they have is incredible. So I highly recommend going over there and checking them out. So they have a bunch of dust assets. Like if you go on their website and you search up Air Blast number 5 and Air Blast number 4 is really, really good at dust assets. Let's say if you're trying to create some sort of like new dust spreading effects where the dust appears, manages to get in front of the camera. Like it gives you the ability to do that. Like even this one right here. It's just some really, really cool stuff. Love it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use their Dust Air Blast, this one, the first one, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that into our layer because we're going to use this one. I'm going to hit Control S to save. And what's happening is it's like the moment he touches the ground is where we want this dust to start taking effect. So right around here, what we're going to do is we're going to offset this right here. And let's see how it looks. So far, so good. I think I want it to happen faster. So right click this dust, go to time stretch, and change the stretch factor to 50. Let's have a look. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to position this somewhere around here. Right, somewhere around here. Now, of course, what you can also do is come all the way over here, go to tint, drag tint, place that into this layer. Boom. And that automatically changes the color to gray. And I'm also going to add another effect where we can reduce the amount of this black area, these dark areas in this dust asset. Search up, again, linear color key. And then drag that into this layer. and then click on this key color, and then click right here in this dark area. So it's going to automatically remove the dark areas, right? But here's what we're going to do next. We're going to change the matching tolerance. So, and the matching softness, what you want to do is you want to leave the matching softness to something like this, 13, and maybe the matching tolerance to something like this. There we go. Now you can come back to the tint, right? Select the dark area and maybe select someplace like this. Oops. And maybe change the color to this too. No, that doesn't look right. Don't do that. Don't do that. I think you know what? Let's just probably like, no, it changes everything. Don't do anything. Don't do anything crazy. Just leave it as it is. Just leave it as it is. And let's see what we can do. You know, it actually doesn't look that bad. Press play. Okay, this looks good. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and click on this layer, the dust layer, and then click on the pen tool, and then draw like a rough mask around this area. So the goal is we want this area to be isolated. So press M on the keyboard, click on add, change this to subtract. Press F on the keyboard and feather this out just a tad, right? But double click M or triple click M and reduce the mask expansion to like -11. So that it appears as if the dust itself is also behind our subject. Feel free to play around with the mask settings just a tad, right? We want his legs to be visible, but also invisible at the same time. Press play. Matter of fact, have this dust appear the moment both legs appear in the scene. So something like this. Offset is something like this. Perfect. Now that we have added the foundational edits, right, let's add the second and following edits. Let's do this. Let's come back to the dust area, right? We have dust number 2, dust number 3, and dust number 4 and 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to use dust number 5. So do this. Click on the same dust blast number 1, hit Control D to duplicate it, hold Alt or Option on your keyboard, and then drag that in here. Boom. Right click, time, stretch, change the stretch factor to 100. Let's move it back and press play. Let's see how it looks. So the dust is spreading towards the screen, but you notice how it kind of like stops right here. What you want to do is you might want to increase it a bit and then reposition this somewhere around here. So it looks something like this. You see? So remember the same edits that was on this one applies to this one. Nice. See how good it looks? Hit Control S to save. See, we're getting this, you know, this is looking good. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some cool stuff, right? Now, of course, you know, we've added some dust. Feel free to add as many dust assets as you want. Like for me, I have a bunch of dust assets like at my disposal. Like I have a lot of dust assets. I have, these are the old ones that I used to use on my other projects. If you have more dust assets, feel free to import them in here. Like, for example, if you want the dust to consistently flow and you don't want the dust to completely disappear, some of the techniques that I like to use is, for example, if I import some of the dust assets that I had before in the past, like, for example, let me see if I can find some of the dust assets that I had, that I have. These are my dust assets. If you've watched most of my previous tutorials, you should also have some of these dust assets as well too. These are some of the old ones that I used to use. They're not bad. I mean, it's really not bad quality, but it gets the job done. It gets the job done. As long as the job gets done, that's all that matters. So for example, something like this, what I would do is I will bring that into this specific layer, right? And of course, I will position this dust wave down here. And then I'll offset this somewhere in here, right? So it's going to be like, So we get that extra layers of dust, right? You notice how the dust is still floating around? It's because of the dust wave, right? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to change the color to orange so we can identify the difference, and maybe select these two, change the color to cyan. There we go. Perfect. See, one thing I want you guys to understand is when it comes to visual effects, it's all about what you're seeing. So every time you're watching a Superman movie, or you're watching something from Marvel, and you notice that the characters, every time they land, they crash land, there's all this dramatic dust and all this stuff that's floating in the air. It is because they pay attention to detail. So even though after our subject lands on the ground, we have this dust disperse, on top of that, we get extra dust floating around, right? Because what we want to do is we don't want the dust to just disappear just like that. Because if, for example, if you see a real bomb, and you notice, like, for example, when people in the military go to war and they shoot bombs, maybe they kill somebody in the desert area, and the bomb flies from the plane and hits the ground, and then you see all this dust dispersing. The dust doesn't just immediately disappear right after it's gone, right? We have the first layer of dust that disappears, and then you have that extra lingering dust that still stays in the air. And that's exactly what we're trying to create here. You see what I'm saying? This looks incredible. Now that we have added majority of our dust assets, right, let's add some lightning. I think that's where it gets more exciting, right? The lightning makes everything look cool. Hit Control S one more time to save, drag all these layers. And by the way, I'm sure I'm probably going to just upload the same dust elements again into the folder. If you guys downloaded it, you guys should also see it in there. So you don't even have to worry about going back to my other tutorials. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some lightning assets. Now, of course, I got a lot of lightning assets from, again, this is all from Triune Digital. The link is down below to grab it yourself. So Triune Digital has a lot of different lightning assets. And so for me, if you guys paid attention to this specific video that I created, you noticed how I created this lightning beam, and then I get a second beam that appears out of thin air, that appears right here, that touches the ground, which makes everything look cool. And so I am actually going to be using that, right? So let me go ahead and grab that specific lightning beam that I use right here, which is called flicker number 1, by the way. Hit Control C to copy. I highly recommend getting that Triune Digital Lightning Pack, because if you get it, you don't got to worry about recreating your own lightning assets, because you can create your own lightning assets. Like, to show you a better example, right? Let me paste this lightning into this layer first. Right click here. Let me create a new solid. You don't have to do this though, but I wanted to show you exactly how to create your own lightning with Adobe After Effects. If you come over here, search up lightning, there is a effect called advanced lightning. So for example, if I search up advanced, you see advanced lightning. Drag advanced lightning in here. And this is the lightning that After Effects provides. You're going to have to do a lot of customization just to be able to get it to look exactly as the way you want it to look. You got to change the glow settings, the opacity settings. Like, there's just so much you got to do just to get the look. So I highly recommend buying the pack instead of having to go through this process, because then you would have to do this every single time. That takes ages. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this flicker lightning that I use for my other shot, and we're going to be using that in this shot. Now, for the flicker lightning, what I did was I added a couple of settings. This plugin is absolutely free. Color Vibrance, you should download it from Video Copilot. Video Copilot, Color Vibrance, download it. Change the color to this, FF6000. And also, when you come over here, grab the Red Giant's VFX optical glow effect as well too, which is also expensive, but it's all part of the pack. If you guys buy the pack and you pay monthly or you pay yearly, you'll have access to all of this. So this as well too, you have access to the amount, the size amount, the size X, size Y, and then of course the colorization right here as well too, to make sure everything is set to white. These are the settings that I use for the optical glow as well too, and make sure that the production, the quality is set to production, alpha channel is set to none, right? Make sure you do that, and then go ahead and that's the settings. And that's going to give you this color right here. And what I did was what I want to do is I want the lightning to appear about a few seconds. So right around here, we want the lightning to appear on the last frame. Right here. Somewhere around, matter of fact, move it right here. There we go. Boom. So we want this lightning to appear right here. And what you can do is press S. We can increase the scale. Right. Let's see, right around here. Hit Control S to save. Move a few frames later. He touches the ground. Right here, when the last lightning appears, I'm going to go back and I'm going to drag strike number 4, which is also, it comes in the pack as well too. And I'm going to paste it right here. Boom. And we're going to paste it right around here. And what we're going to do is we're going to press S and we're going to increase the scale like this. So it's going to be like boom. But make sure it's touching down here. But make sure that this lightning asset is also below all this dust elements. Something like this. There we go. So it's going to be like you see that? Hit Control S to save. Boom. So when the lightning strikes the ground, what happens is we have some sparks. And so for me, I added some sparks right here in this specific layer. So these spark elements also comes from the Triune digital pack as well too. Hit Control S to save. You come back over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this spark assets. I'm going to place it here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that in here somewhere where the lightning touches the ground, right? So where the lightning touches the ground is where we see this spark asset. Now, of course, the sparks itself seems to be in front of the dust. So what you want to do is you want to place it also somewhere in there. Like you don't want to place it too far back, but at least in an area where you can see. Let's see, you can't really see it well. So I'm afraid we're just going to have to position it somewhere here. Something like this. Perfect. Perfect. And what I like to do is I like to add this this sort of like bright light, because remember, he appears and there's all this extra flashes of light that is around him, right? So what I'd like to do is I would like to create a new what's it called, adjustment layer. But instead of creating a new adjustment layer, we're going to click on one of the flashes and hit Control D to duplicate it. Drag one of the flashes right here at the very beginning, stretch this out a bit, and delete the optical flash in that layer. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and just position this at the top and rename this to brightness. I think I spelled brightness right. But rename this to brightness and come into the effects and search up curves. Drag curves in here and then increase the brightness a lot. Something like this. And here's what I want you to do. Click on the Eclipse rectangle tool, click and hold and drag all the way down till you click on the Eclipse tool. And once you've done that, drag this area and select this area where we get all this extra light beams. Press F on the keyboard and feather this out to like 700. Press T on the keyboard, set a keyframe on opacity at the very beginning, and then come all the way at the very end, and then reduce this to 0. So it's going to be like this. So it's reducing over time. So it's going to be like this. Matter of fact, do this. So first, matter of fact, just bear with me. Do this. Drag, offset this a bit so that it appears for a few seconds and then it disappears. And then hit Control Shift D, delete that part. Hit this, click on this specific brightness right here. Hit Control D to duplicate it. And it's going to appear again one more time. So it's going to be like this. See that? So what you can even do is click on this area and decrease the mask to something like this. Let's see. That's perfect. Hit Control S to save. Now that we've added this extra layer of brightness, what we can even do is we can add some extra lightning. Now, I told you guys already, majority of the lightning assets that I will be using is coming directly from the Triune Digital pack. Now, there's another lightning asset that comes from their pack called Ground 2. I'm going to click on Ground 2 and Ground 2 Contact, and I'm going to drag that into this specific layer. So I'm also going to change the color to maybe green so I know the difference. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I select on toggle switches and mode, come all the way down to mode under screen. I'm going to change this to add. Right? Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and come all the way to flicker, right? And the properties that I have listed here, the color vibrance and the optical glow properties, I'm going to hit Control C to copy that. And then I'm going to come all the way over here to Ground 2 and hit Control V to paste that. So what's pretty much happening is I still get the same glow colors on just this lightning itself, not the ground lightning, not the ground contact. Because the ground contact is areas where when the lightning touches the ground, it's brightened. Feel free to, on the ground contact, to change this to screen if you would like. If you don't want it to be too bright, you can change it either to screen or to add. Add just illuminates it even more, but change it to screen. And here's what I want you to do. Hit Control S to save. So the moment he touches the ground, right, there is the first layers of lightning. So select these two ground assets like this and offset this a tad to something like this and have it start somewhere around here. Offset this somewhere like this. So it should be like this. But if it's too big, hit Control, hit S, make sure both of them are selected and reduce the scale. You don't want it to be too big, something like this. And it should be like this. And feel free to select these two and place it below this dust. So it should be like this. Right there. But you should come all the way over here, maybe like crop this a bit and maybe come all the way over here to the very beginning and then just offset this a bit to something like this. Like that. There we go. See that? It's blending in. That's what we want, right? Hit Control S to save. You see that? Perfect. Now, we've done most of the hard parts. We've added some lightning, we've added some dust, we've added some cool stuff to just make this look amazing and make this look so terrific. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this sound effect, right? Now, of course, I'm also going to include that in there, but it's going to be called Pop Light Flash Heavy Sound Effect. I'm going to drag that in here again. Double click L, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to come all the way over here and hit Control Shift D, delete this part. Press L and lower down the volume just a tad. Right click this, go to time stretch, and maybe change the stretch factor to 200 on the sound. And let's have a look. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave it back to 0. Let's have a look. It sounds like a lightning sound effect. Perfect. Let's reduce this to -4. Doesn't sound that bad. I think it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Maybe -6 might be okay. Let's try this. Perfect. Nice. So our subject teleports into the scene. Now when he disappears, remember, the teleporting out, you can honestly just leave it like that if you wish. But if you want to be extra and be extra dramatic, you can always do this thing where you can always come over here and grab this chromatic displacement and hit Control D to duplicate that. Bring that in here, right? Bring that in here, bring that on top over here, and come to the effects and controls, come to the 28 and change this from 28 to 24. And take a look. Let's see. So we starting off with that. Let's see what we can do if we offset this just a tad. And we'll do this. We'll just have it appear for one frame. Let's see. But in that one frame, press U, delete, select these two keyframes and delete them. And then select these two keyframes and delete them as well too. It seems like he cloaks himself in light or some sort of glass thing. So we'll do this. We'll have it appear just one frame after he disappears. There you go. So we still can at least see some of that glass effect. So we can add that glass effect. And then here's what we can also do. We can add some lightning, right? You could always add lightning. So what you can always do is you can click on the strike lightning, hit Control D to duplicate that, bring that in here, and maybe offset this a tad to something like this. So lightning is his signature. So when he disappears with lightning. So press R on this one, maybe rotate it. By the way, I did a lot of animations on this lightning. So, you know, the reason why I didn't want to have us to go through this whole back and forth, it's the reason why I didn't show you guys exactly what I did, but pretty much there's a lot of animations that I did on this one. Hit Control S to save. This one I'm probably gonna change this to screen. Yeah, screen is fine. And then I'm gonna press play. So what you can even do is, as the lightning appears when he disappears, what you can do is we can add the sparks, right? Come back over here, grab the same sparks, hit Control D, duplicate it, position the sparks right around here below the flicker, and offset this a tad to something like this, and then reposition it right here at the base. Probably increase the scale. Press play. That doesn't look right, so delete the sparks. Hit Control S to save, and press play. See, the thing is, we don't want too much of a dramatic exit. The entrance was dramatic. The exit shouldn't be dramatic. You see what I'm saying? So let's do this. Let's come over here, right? And let's add also a distortion. Hit the Control D to duplicate the distortion. Offset the distortion right around here. Maybe place it somewhere around here. Press M this time around and see the mask itself. Just delete the mask. And this time around, come all the way over here and click on the eclipse tool and just draw another mask around here. Press F, feather this out a bit, and let's have a look. See, he disappears into thin air. This time around, increase the wind speed just a tad. And let's do this. Press M on the keyboard, set a keyframe on mask path, and as he's teleporting, have this also move up here. And maybe we should do this. Press T on the keyboard. Let's see. Let's delete this keyframe right here and have it disappear. And maybe what we're gonna do is And maybe we should do something with the mask expansion. Triple click M to bring the mask expansion and reduce the expansion to like -37. Let's press play. Perfect. So this guy's moving with light. Nice. See that? Perfect. This is looking amazing, man. Y'all are just playing games now at this point, man. You guys are creating some highly advanced superhero edits, and I'm so proud of you guys. I think so far this is good. This is looking really good. So here's what we're going to do. Now that everything is really looking good, everything is exactly where I wanted to be. Matter of fact, let me take a look. What else did I add? I mean, I only added sparks. I added some lightning shots. I added all that extra stuff. But that was pretty much it. Yep. Oh, yeah, I added some sort of glow with my subject. So let's try this. Come all the way over here and click on this specific layer right here. The frozen layer, right? And what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and, turn this into a white layer. So click on hue/saturation, drag that into this area. Click on colorize, reduce the saturation and increase the brightness all the way up to 100. Hit on the same thing, the hue/saturation, hit Control C or Command C to copy. Come to the second one, hit Control V to paste. So it's going to look something like this. It happens for a few seconds, right? And then when he disappears, see that? He turns into this white creature. Feel free to add a glow to that one too. See, you can always add a glow. Come over here, search up glow. Now, I do have optical glow, but I won't use optical glow for the sake of the fact that most of you guys don't have it. So I will be using this glow effect right here. Glow, drag glow into this. And then maybe let's increase the radius a bit. So he's shining like the sun, right? Like that. Click on that glow, hit Control C to copy, bring it over here, hit Control V to paste. So glow is here. See? Oops. Because I added the glow, this thing appears right here. So click on this chromatic displacement and make sure you click on masks so that it sticks to the masks. And come over here, actually this one right here, and make sure this one sticks to masks as well too. There we go. Press play. Dramatic entrance, dramatic exit. Perfect. We did this. Now, hit Control S to save. Let's do this. We're going to select all of these layers, right? Drag all these layers, select them, right click. Let's go ahead and pre-compose this and call this new teleport edit. Boom. Press enter. Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to move this time indicator a few frames forward to the part where he lands. Ooh, you know what I'm forgetting to add? Chromatic aberration. Double click this, right? Let's go back into the composition itself, right? Let's do this. So you see exactly where we added the flash or the brightness, right? This brightness effect. Hit Control D to duplicate that brightness effect. Delete this brightness effect. Press enter and type in CA for chromatic aberration. Now, press M on the keyboard. Click on the mask itself. Drag this down just a tad and search up chromatic aberration and drag chromatic aberration into this layer. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to offset the position just a few frames forward, just a few frames, just a little bit, something like this. Boom, 5.5. That's what you want. Because what's happening is we want this chromatic aberration to appear just for a few seconds. It appears for just a few seconds and drag this a little bit forward. Press U on the keyboard. Drag this over here and maybe offset this somewhere around here. There we go. Matter of fact, stretch this out a bit. Like this. You see what's happening? Boom. It happens just for a few seconds. Hit Control D to duplicate the same thing and have it moved over here when he's about to disappear. Somewhere around here. This time around, press M on the keyboard, set a keyframe on the, don't set a keyframe, just move the mask to somewhere around here. It's more like it. Boom! Hit Control S to save. Now let's come back to the footage itself. And this time around, here's what we're gonna do. He teleports right in midair, right around here. The moment he's here, we're gonna hit Control Shift D or Command Shift D to split the layer. And we're gonna move this right around here. We're gonna split the layer again. Come over here to the part where right here, when he turns white, hit Control Shift D, and that should be it. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come right here, and what we're going to do is we're gonna click on Toggle Switches and Mode, Enable Motion Blur for these two layers. Hit Control S to save. Come back over here to the Motion Effects Control and type in Motion Tile. Click on Motion Tile, drag that in here, and I want you to go ahead and click on Mirror Edges. Change the output width and height to 150. Boom. Now let's add some wiggle. Search up wiggle, position, drag that in here. Oh, we're gonna add some camera shake. Now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move this time indicator a few frames forward, and we're gonna set a keyframe on the wiggle amount. So what I want you to do is increase the wiggle amount to maybe something like 41 and decrease this to like 10 or 14 is good. And then come all the way over here and then decrease this to 0. Press play. If it's too wiggly, right, press U on the keyboard and drag the last two keyframes right here. If you want, feel free to play around with this. Let me see. Feel free to offset this a few frames forward. Offset this, something like this. There we go. Perfect. And then all you can do is now click on the same layer right here. Click on this drag down menu, click on effects, hit Control C to copy that effect or Command C. Come back over here. V to paste. Press play. And that's how you do it, my friends. Hit Control S to save. Go ahead and come back over here to the very beginning. And what I like to do is I like to add this cinematic look to it. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to add some noise. And, you know, let's add some noise. Change the amount to 6. Create a new adjustment layer. And I'm going to call that noise. Right? And then I'm going to press play. So this is going to give it that nice cinematic noise look to it. But if I change the quality to full, you should see the noise in the footage. See that? See that noise on my face? So if I were to turn it off, see that? Yeah, that's cinematic noise. And then of course I'm gonna add some color grade, and that's just it. So guys, go ahead, render this, and that's how you do it. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to see more, I do have a course on some teleporting visual effects and some other stuff. Click the link down below. Check out some of my other courses. Hope you'll definitely love this tutorial. Stay blessed.